What are you doing here? What are you doing? This is full of spoilers. This is a fantastic game that you should unlock on your own and experience it for yourself. Go away. Get out of here. I know, you're going to stay because you're a terrible person. Like me. You know, if someone says, hey, I've got some new Star Wars Episode 8 spoilers, I'm like, okay, I want to hear them because I don't, whatever. Mariah gets mad at me all the time because I'll watch like Red Letter Media. They do Half in the Bag episodes and it's got spoilers. And I'm like, I don't care. I will say that there's some cool stuff that happens and this could, in theory, give you a leg up on other players that you're playing with. But hey, you've been warned and you're grown people. So here we go. So I'm going to show you my side. And again, if you watch the spoiler-free review, you'll know that we are at game 9. So let's take a look at this craziness that is going on here. Wow, that board is super full. That has a bunch of buildings. Again, we're playing with 4 players, so there are 2 inactive charters, but those have filled in. There eventually is a rule that basically provides for random buildings to come up at inactive charters. So that's pretty cool. So I have been playing the forest people over in the Duchy, and I have had a pretty terrible charter. So I'm over here. I've had a pretty terrible charter, and my buildings have not been great necessarily. There is a certain thing that you want where you want buildings that have low input. In other words, they only require like a couple resources or some money or some other things. When you have a bunch of high input buildings, that makes them more difficult to use, which is fine in and of itself, except at a certain point, you're going to unlock minions. And minions are basically extra workers. And at this point, I believe we've unlocked all the minions. And we have the robots, which we've been calling robots in our game for some reason. We have robots, we have ghosts, we have chefs, we have golems, not golems. Golems are from Lord of the Rings. Golems are these automaton guys. We have butlers, little gold butlers, and some other stuff. So what's cool about these are additional workers that you can place only in your areas. And whenever you place them, you get some kind of benefit. So for example, like a butler, whenever you place it, you get a buck. Or a golem, whenever you place it, you get a resource of your choice. But what's cool is if I place it here in one of my buildings, and my opponent comes in and places there, they actually don't kick the golem out. Normally you kick out workers. They let me get that benefit a second time. That's pretty cool. Sorry, there was a 3-year-old incident I had to deal with upstairs. But anyway, the Duchy, my charter, didn't have a lot of great places where I could just put out some of my minions and people would necessarily want to come. At least I'd say for the first 6, 7 games, really only the last 2 games, that people start coming to my charter to get things regularly. And so I wasn't able to make the best use of minions from game to game, or even really be able to use all the minions to full effect that I had. But I kind of got around that in other ways, which I think is one of the cool things about this game. Now, there's a bunch of different rules. I'm not going to necessarily spoil all of the rules. I'm not going to go rule by rule or anything like that. But definitely the minions, I think, are a big part. Eventually, I opened the cats. So I did something really crazy here. So I had the cats. The cats say whenever you place them, you get a point. And whenever you open up a new rule or something like that, you usually get a new persona. So these personas are these alter egos of yours, and they're going to give you some different bonus depending which one you use. So I got the cat lady, or cat something, cat lady? I think it was cat lady. And the cat lady said that whenever I withdraw my workers from the board, as long as I'm withdrawing at least 2 cats, I score 2 victory points. In addition, eventually we unlocked a new mechanic called Friends. And friends, there's two for each charter. So there's six different colors. So there are 12 total friends. And there's a green friend that says whenever you would score a point in the green charter, gain an extra point. Another one says whenever you would gain money, gain an extra money. So I had, and this was our game 9, I had my 2 cats, I had the cat lady persona, or whatever it's called, and I was able to basically place my cats out, get points, get bonus points, because from when I activated green buildings, and I have 2 buildings in my charter that let me turn resources into points and money, which is pretty interesting. And then I had another persona. Normally you can only have 1 persona, but there become ways where you can bring out extra personas that said whenever I place my last worker, I get a free recall. So I got rid of almost all of my workers except for 2 cats, 1 golem, because I needed to generate a bunch of resources, and my 2 original workers. And that's all I did that game, was get resources, put cats out, score points for converting resources to points, do an automatic pullback, and then get 2 points for my cats. That was our single highest scoring score. I think I scored like 92, and most of our scores had been somewhere, I'd say in the 30s, 30 to 50 early on, and then eventually like 50 to 70, somewhere in there. Now, I don't know that I can necessarily do that. In fact, the next scenario we have is kind of changing things up with minions in scenario 10. But for the most part, it was a cool engine that I had built, and it was the first time I really felt like there was a really strong engine. And I can't really do it again. I don't think, and nor would I really want to. It was more, could I actually do it? And I could do it. It was pretty cool. In fact, that was was that the only game I've won? No, that was the second game. I think I said in the spoiler-free review I've only won once. That's not true. I've won 2 of the games. And that last one was pretty crazy. So that being said, my charter is still not that great. And they're like Matthew, oh man, Matthew had this incredible charter. So he is Grump Berg. He won the first game, and you get to, everyone else gets to name the winner's first one. So Grump Berg is down here, and he is the metal guy, and he has a bunch of cool buildings. He has a place where you just get metal, which is the basic spot. He's got a building where you turn metal into 2 gold. He's got a spot that gets you influence back, because eventually you run out of influence, you need it to do certain things. He's got a spot that lets you pull an extra persona. He's got a spot that turns, he's got 2 spots now that turn food into influence, or resources into influence. And for the most part, the entire game, he has had the best charter hands down. People wanted to go to his charter all the time. And the worst part about it was he was the guy that unlocked the robots. And the robots say that when you place that minion, you get an advancement card. And so he would just be placing minions, getting advancement cards from us. And then once he has these grip of advancement cards, he's able to get a bunch of different income, because at certain points, as you increase the influence, you're getting income from some of these cards, all these different bonuses in terms of, it says, oh, when you do this, score 2 points, or when you do this, score 1 point, or whatever. So he had, most of us had like 4 or 5 advancement cards at most at a time, and he would often have like 10, 12, 15 in some cases. And the cool thing is eventually you can just go to the quota, and you can actually get rid of, just get rid of some of the advancement cards up at the quota, because you can't keep everything. And that's been one of the cool things I've really liked, are the end of game decisions. Because basically, when you complete a game, you are scoring stars for every 10 points that you've scored. And you're able to fill in on your charter box, you're able to fill in these spaces here, and when you complete a row, it's going to give you additional things at the start of each game. You can get additional resources, additional gold, 3 points, which is pretty solid. You can get a minion, or you can also get capacity. So capacity is here on the back. This is how much stuff you can keep from one game to the next. So initially, you can only keep 1 resource, 1 gold, one card, and then 1 minion. But then as you keep losing, you get to add these in so that you get a little bit of a leg up in future games. Whereas the person that wins, they don't get an advancement, they just get a trophy, which is going to be worth a certain number of points at the end of the game. In fact, the thing was, it says here, so for capacity, it says each capacity is worth 1 to 3 VP at the end of the campaign. And then it says each victory is worth 6 to 8 VP at the end of the campaign. And so we were thinking like, well, what does that mean? Why is it a variable amount? And eventually we found out why. There is a way that you choose how you individually are scoring at the end of the game. And that was really cool. And it was a little mathy to try and figure out what's going to be best for you. But then eventually it's going to give you something to focus on, knowing that, oh, I'm going to score more points for doing this rather than doing that. Then I need to kind of concentrate on that. So that's pretty cool. It came a little bit later in the game than I thought it would. And that's what it is. I think it was fine. Now, the way that they got introduced was through guideposts, and these guideposts are these things that introduce scenario-specific rules, and then also a goal for the end of the game. And so, for example, it might say have the most reputation on the reputation track, which is something you want to do anyway because it gives you end game points. And whoever does that is going to get an extra star, which is nice. And they get to choose, there's a little bit of a choose your own adventure element with the guidepost. And it's got a little scratch off thing that says, okay, you either pick this or this. Sometimes it's just dependent on what the group did, how many points the group scored, or whether or not certain elements are present. But most of the time you get that choice. And you don't have a lot of information about the choice. It's usually a good choice or a bad choice. But there's no input for you. So there's not necessarily a lot of agency there. It's kind of a narrative element. Like it might say, and I haven't really talked about the theme here, but you're dealing with the Forever King in the Eternal City who sent you out to create this new village. And so you can do something which is going to displease the Forever King or make the Forever King happy. And you're not sure what that means exactly. And then basically you make your choice, and then it says, okay, we'll open up one of the crates. So we have here this index guide, and over here it has an index of all of the crates that are in the game that you can unlock that are going to give you access to new buildings, give you access to new rules, mechanics, components, etc. And then on the back side are these lettered crates. So the front side's all numbered. Back side's these lettered crates that basically unlock the narrative. And so you either, in the first time you have a guidepost, are going to lock either A or B, depending on what you choose. Eventually it's going to be, H or I or whatever. And that's going to either, like I said, make the Forever King mad or make him happy. And there's something that's going to happen with the Forever King at the end of the game, I think, depending on how happy or mad we've made him. And I'm not sure what yet. So I'm kind of excited to see that. Now, I talked a bit about the advancement cards, and I'd mentioned friends. There are assistants you get initially that give you some sort of bonus points, like whenever you go to the market in the commons, it gives you a certain amount of VPs, things like that. But you can unlock a bunch of new things. There are guests, which give you additional income. There are friends, which I mentioned. Then what else here? Because I'm trying to think. Let's just take a quick gander. Looking through these, there's items, which are kind of like contracts that you fulfill. You're trying to build stuff. We just got these treasures, which are these cool one-use effects, and they kind of get discarded. Friends, we talked about those. So lots of cool stuff in here, and it just kind of doles out a new mechanic, couple of games, or a couple in each game. And it's been a cool experience. Now, when you look at this completed map, or all not completed, but filled in, because we're still going to be replacing some of these buildings. By the way, this isn't going to be a complete spoiler thing. There is a way that you have extra spaces for the buildings. I'm not going to reveal that, even though this is spoilers, because I think it's really cool and there's some interesting stuff there. So I'm not going to get into that. But at this point, this is crazy, right? There is so much stuff going on here. So you have 6 charters, you have 6 different buildings per charter. So that's 36 different action spots. Oh, sorry, plus the 5 in the commons. And then there's the cloud port, which is what lets you send stuff up for the quota. So you've got, what is that? 36, 42, right? 42 different action spots. That's a lot. That really is a lot, especially when they're changing so often. Or especially when you say, okay, I'm going to do this, and oh, I'm going to go here. Oh, wait, that building's not there anymore because someone built over it or someone got rid of it temporarily, this particular game in the campaign. That can be kind of frustrating. And this game, I think, is a lot more tactical than strategic in that sense, because you have to adapt to the new board. You have to adapt to perhaps, eventually you get these peril cubes that go on buildings, and basically they represent different kind of dangers. And as you go in a building, you collect them, and you're able to then turn them into. It's another resource that you can turn into points or money or whatever. And so it could be that you're just playing a strategy where I have a persona that says, score points every time I pick up a green cube. And you're like, okay, cool. So I'm picking up green cubes, I'm scoring some points, and now I'm going to turn those green cubes over here in the silo for points and money. So that's something you can do. And so I think that you have to say, okay, I have a general strategy. Here's what I'm generally good at. Here's what my charter lets me do on kind of a regular basis. But now based on the guidepost and what it's looking for, based on how the map is set up, based on whether or not a certain building is there or is not there, like it was the last game or two, I have to kind of play this on the fly. Because if you just try and just barrel ahead with the same strategy every time, I don't think it's going to work. So that's been interesting. It's been interesting having to adapt so much and kind of so quickly, because things can really change from game to game. All right, so like I said, we have 3 games left, and I'd mentioned in the spoiler-free review that I wasn't super impressed by the narrative. That it wasn't really compelling to me. There were times when it was really cool and it was kind of compelling, but I haven't been hooked like I've been in, say, Pandemic Legacy. I'm still holding out hope that something really cool is going to happen in 10, 11, 12. And in fact, what's coming up in the next game is we can't use any of our minions. And in fact, minions are going to be out all over the board. They're basically, the Forever King has come, he's landed, he's kind of inhabited the city, taken over the city. And at the end of the scenario, we're looking to kind of see who has the most minions, basically kind of who's gained the most influence among the servants of the king, the courtiers of court and whatnot. I'm curious to see where that's going to lead, and I'm curious to see if there's going to be some kind of big payoff in terms of the narrative. I'm also waiting for some big change, some big mechanic change, and I don't know yet. What I'll certainly do is once we finish, I'll do another spoiler thing if people want to see that, and talk about, was there something, so for example, Nick has been saying since the beginning, I think at some point this is going to switch from competitive to cooperative. And I will say that there have been times that it has not been full-blown cooperative, but that everyone benefited by being kind of friendly to one another. A couple times that's happened. So he's half right, and maybe there comes a point when it's full-on cooperative. I don't know. I would like to see some sort of big, like, mind-blowing change. Whether that's going to happen or not, we'll have to wait and see. So let me know if you have any specific questions in the comments below. I can kind of do a follow-up video, but nothing is going to replace the experience of playing Charterstone. So once again, we're going to be releasing our spoiler-free full review on the podcast over at dukesdice.com on October 23rd. I'd love you to go listen to that. It's going to be a fantastic episode. We'll watch lots of other stuff. But all that being said, this game's pretty solid. I'm really enjoying this experience. I'm excited to play. I'm excited to finish, right? I mean, that's one thing. We didn't finish our game of Pandemic Legacy. And it's not that we didn't want to or anything like that. It's just we weren't making time for it. I'm excited for this. I'm excited to play this with Raquel and Mariah and kind of re-experience it. And it's going to be difficult because I'm going to try and not use what I know is going to happen to kind of get a leg up on them, but it's going to be hard to kind of separate that out and not think about that. But overall, when Charterstone becomes available, and I think it's going to be early December, I would definitely suggest going to check this out. I have had just a ton of fun playing this, and I think it's definitely worth the look. So congrats to Jamie, congrats to Stonemaier Games. I think this is a fantastic production. You know, and once again, this was a review copy, this was a preview copy, but I have really enjoyed this experience. So, all right, well, that's going to do it. Until next time, this is Sean from the Dukes of Dice, and I'll catch you later.